Dame's defense do especially well? Like, what concerns you the most about them?
Well, they are coached very, very well. Do a great job of mixing up the different styles of defense that they play, and they have a new defense coordinator. So certainly Marcus has his fingerprints all over the defense. But now that you have Al Golden there, it's a little bit of a different staff. So I think probably just a little bit of the unknown going into the game.
If CJ needs to go out of the game for whatever reason, would Kyle be the one to come in at quarterback for you guys?
Yeah, in the first game he would. Yep.
We'll go front row right, Austin Ward.
From nowhere. All right, cool. Ryan, between Travion and Mayan, do you have a preference for how you'd like, or an idea of how you want to handle the rotation with those two at this point?
Yeah, we're going to see how the game goes, but they're both going to play, and they both had very good camps, and we're going to need them both in this game. They I think have really done a great job in all three areas. They've done a good job in running the football, and they've done a good job in the pass game, and done a good job in protection. So, all three of those guys could get in the game. Dallin might even get into the game, but we'll start with Trey, and Mayan will be in there real quick.
Where do you see the biggest improvement or difference from Travion from this time a year ago to now?
I think when you come in as a freshman, everything's just moving so fast. It's just having a little bit more experience now and going through things. And, again, everything you're doing isn't for the first time. There's a lot to be said for that. So I think just overall the banked reps in his mind.
And that would be Rivals 97.1. Austin.
Thank you.
See you, Jer.
Let's go third row left, Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Ryan, Marcus Freeman was saying yesterday that he thinks a big key of this game is going to be stopping the run and being able to run the ball. Do you have a similar approach?
Yeah, same thing. And that's really where we all start is stopping the run. And they do a good job running the football, so we're going to have to do a great job of being assignment sound and playing with great fundamentals and doing a great job on third down and get off the field. But the same thing on offense. You have to establish the run. It's very, very important and something we've been working very hard on.
Those were things that didn't go your way in the game that didn't go well last year. How much of a point of emphasis has that been in game planning for this game of making sure stop the run hardly?
It's a point of emphasis for every game that we play, though. We have spent a lot of time on it, but not any more time than we have in the past. I mean, that's where the games are won and lost. Is up front. So, but have certainly spent a lot of time on that.
Right in front of him, Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
Ryan, obviously you're trying to prepare for a game, but there's obviously going to be a lot of recruits walking around here, maybe more than you've had pretty much in your career here. Is there any extra message you have for those guys, and maybe how do you handle that while also trying to focus on top 5 matchup?
Yeah, we've had conversations leading up to this game about a lot of our recruits coming to this game, and it's been exciting for them, and we are going to have a big number here. And I think most of the conversation leading up to the game has been had, the recruiting's been had. Now it's time to go play the game and just allow them the opportunity to see what an atmosphere at Ohio State's like, playing in Ohio Stadium, top 10 matchup, ESPN game, just the whole atmosphere, and just take it all in and then picture themselves being on that field. And I think a lot of guys are really excited. We got people flying in from all over the country here to be part of this game, so happy that they're going to be with us for this one.
CJ and Jackson specifically, that relationship, since they've gotten here, how have you seen those two kind of grow?
Well, I think it started in high school, and then it went on to when they were, in the scout team together. But they were together on a couple of these rivals camps, and they knew each other when they were in the recruiting circles. And then when they got here, it started right off the bat. I think they were on a scout team for a little while, and then quickly grew to last year. So they've just naturally kind of had a great relationship and understand each other's body language. We have a good connection.
Behind Stephen, Jacob Benj, the Lantern.
Yeah, Ryan, just talking about Marcus Freeman and his press conference yesterday. I know Notre Dame's got a lot of Buckeye connections on its coaching staff. Just what's your history with Marcus Freeman and some of the other coaches that have ties to Ohio State?
Yeah, it's interesting when you look at both staffs. There are a lot of crossover. We have some Notre Dame folks who are folks that coached at Notre Dame and vice versa. There's guys who are Buckeyes over there or coached here. So, it's a small world and, it's kind of unique, but it's exciting. And I think that's we're all competitive and looking forward to play Saturday night.
And Notre Dame as well will start at quarterback, for the first time. Similar to maybe your team last year, just what do you know about Notre Dame's quarterback going into Saturday's game?
Very athletic, very talented, highly recruited. Very talented. Seeing his ability to throw, his ability to run. So, we got to do a good job, and we're expecting a high-level play.
Front row right, Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Ryan, just to follow up on Kyle being there behind CJ in case of injury, obviously you have a couple of guys, him and Devin, what do you feel confident about Kyle in that number 2 spot for this week?
Well, he's been in the program for a couple of years, and Devin's he's right there too. He's working really hard, and as the season goes on, he's got to continue to grow. But going into this first one, Kyle just has a little bit more experience coming into it, understands the offense just a little bit more, has a little bit more under his belt. So, we feel like if we need to, that he would be the guy.
You said for this game, is that something you keep open throughout the year, having both those guys competing for the back?
Well, they're both gonna, things change, but right now it's Kyle, and we'll just keep, see where it goes. Those guys got to show up every day and compete and get better. In Devin's defense, he's only been here for about 7 months, so I think Kyle's ahead of him right now just because of his experience, and we just want to make sure those guys continue to get better. And when they have an opportunity to get in the game, then they got to go prove that they can do it in the game, because one of the hardest things is being a backup quarterback, where you're getting you're getting certain reps in practice, but you're not getting game reps. And so as the season goes on, we'll get to continually evaluate those guys.
A big picture question about the series with Notre Dame. You guys have historically not played a ton in the regular season. This is only the only 5th ever meeting to know OSU and Notre Dame. Once home and home in the 90s, home and home in the 30s. Do you have any thoughts on the frequency you would like to play Notre Dame? I know you haven't obviously played this home and home yet, but just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
I don't really have many thoughts on that, no. I mean, it's certainly exciting to be a part of it. Not only is it the 100th year anniversary of the shoe, but just the fact that, like you said, it's a special matchup, having Notre Dame, such a prestigious program in the Midwest, and then Ohio State getting together for a home and home is exciting. And we saw this on the schedule a couple years back, and here we are.
Right next door, Tim May, Letterman Row.
What kind of, how many more minutes of sleep do you get a night leading up to this game, knowing you have this starting quarterback back and what he can bring to the table, and where do you see him stepping up headed into this one?
Yeah, it's a different feel from last year. Everything was new last year, so that's different. But there are other challenges. There are other things that are new. So, but knowing that have somebody who's been through the games before and been through the fire, and that does help. And it isn't about helping you get any sleep. It's just what can they handle. In terms of putting in the game plan and things that we can hopefully make game time adjustments with, because there's a Rolodex of plays that under his belt that we can go back to if we need to. And even just communicating what's going on in game for guys who have been in first games are important, because there's just on both sides there's going to be things that we haven't seen, and so we have to be able to make in-game adjustments quickly. And having experience certainly helps in that area.
And how much of a bonus did you look back on it? Was that Rose Bowl? Obviously, they come from behind wind, et cetera, but just getting Marvin Harrison Jr. and Mecca Egbuka involved, Julian Fleming too.
Yeah, I hope
because of what they were replacing, et cetera. As you look back on it now, how invaluable was that?
I hope it was big. Yeah, I mean, if you didn't have that experience in that setting, you'd be even more sleepless nights. But they did. That doesn't mean anything. They still have to go play. But at least there's a reference point there, which is good for them, and hopefully it does pay off.
Third row left, Bill Landis, Rivals.
Ryan, now that he's had basically a full year of playing linebacker, kind of got his feet under, what have you noticed about Steele over the last month in terms of being more comfortable with that position? And I'm wondering if he, flashed any differently in camp maybe he did last year.
Yeah, same thing. Having a year under your belt of playing is important, and I think that room is doing well. I think that they see it from a wider scope, being with Jim every day. In the meetings, they get to see it. They make the calls. So I think he's one more year veteran, which is again hopefully pays off on Saturday night. But I think as a group, they all have more experience. Look at Tommy, you look at Cody, look at some of the guys who hadn't really played going into that year when we had to replace all 4 of those linebackers who took the majority of the reps. At least this year's team coming back has more experience in the linebacker room.
When you're playing an opponent that has a former assistant of yours on their defensive staff, do you need to change the way you go about things in terms of signals? Is there any value to having maybe more intimate personnel knowledge that Al might have since he was here on the practice field?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Al did an unbelievable job when he was here, and he's a good friend of mine, and have nothing but respect for him. So, he'll have those guys charged up, but yeah, certainly, he knows a lot about this program, what we do, so definitely have to be aware of that and change some things up.
Deep left, Brendan Gulick, Buckeyes Now on Sports Illustrated.
Hi, Coach. Thanks for spending some time with us. I know you've talked a little bit about the aura around this game. Can you give us an idea at how much you appreciate the tradition of college football and of two programs that may be at the forefront of tradition in the sport?
Yeah, it's hard to probably appreciate right now because there's just so much going on. But when you think about what an opportunity this is for Saturday night, just getting Notre Dame and Ohio State together, first game of the year, 100th year anniversary, the shoe, all of the things combined. What a great opportunity, and that's what college football is all about: is bringing people back and making it special. And this is about our players. And I talked to him the other day about when you grow up and you're 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and you watch a game on TV on Saturday night, and then you wake up the next morning on Sunday and you're playing in the backyard, and all of a sudden you're taking on the personality of guys who you watched the night before. And you can see a couple of them nod, and I said, well, that's going to be you. And I try to remind guys that every year when we play in environments like this. And that's the opportunity that's there. So that's why we got to work so hard this week to be a competitive excellence on Saturday. So working really hard to make sure that we're prepared for this thing.
As a head coach, that led a program through the COVID pandemic and all the unique challenges that you've kind of had year to year, what makes this opener unique for you, this season unique?
I think it's unique. Every year is unique, but what's significant about this year is, again, probably our schedule, bookended by Notre Dame and Team Up North, 8 home games, 100th year anniversary, a little bit more of an experienced crew coming back. So I think those are probably the things that are most noteworthy.
Let's go deep right, Jeremy Birmingham, Rivals.
Right. Obviously, in your 4 years here, you guys generally try to avoid the huge recruiting events during game days, but with the game being at night, does it make it easier, and are you worried about striking a balance between finding time with kids and all their families coming in and just being ready for Saturday night?
Yeah, all the focus is going to be on the game. We have a great recruiting staff that's going to do everything they can to make sure they put on a great show and be great hosts for our recruits, but time will be limited. Maybe after the game on Sunday, then we'll have some time to catch up, but we got to focus on Notre Dame. And yeah, it's great. We have a lot of people flying in from different parts of the country. They play on Friday night, and they're able to come in on Saturday because it's a night game. So this is unique that way. So we do have big numbers. And I say all the time, every time you come to visit, it's a different experience. This one is about watching the atmosphere and watching the game at Ohio State. When they come in the spring or the winter, we get to spend more one-on-one time. That's typically the focus. But this focus is about seeing the environment, watching the atmosphere, and then visualizing yourself on the field playing for the Buckeyes.
With the 20th year anniversary of the 2002 National Championship, a lot of guys coming into town. Do you have anything different planned with Jim Tressel as far as talking to the team or being around the team?
Yeah, so really great to see those guys get recognized. And not only is that national championship team a special team because they won it, but they've had such an impact on Columbus, on Ohio State, and certainly Coach Tressel's had a great impact on me, and he's been a great resource. But it's also all the players, and to see those guys be a part of the game Saturday is going to be important. And I'm glad they're a part of it, and I'm glad they're getting recognized because it is more than just that. And I think it goes to show you, if you become a national championship here at Ohio State, a national championship team at Ohio State, it kind of lives for a long, long time, and it means so much. So great to see those guys recognized. A lot of respect.
Fourth row right, Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row.
Right, when you look at this defense, last year you guys rotated a lot of guys because of inexperience. Now Larry says he's got 12 guys. He might be able to rotate on the defensive line. The safety room looks like it's got 6 guys. Do you feel more confident in installing a rotation of guys that you can actually play heading into this opener than you did heading to Minnesota when you were platooning guys?
Yeah, I think we know what we have, and I think guys have settled into some stuff. But at the end of the day, in big games, our really good players have to play really good. And, if we're going to play depth at different positions, that's great. Those guys got to play. But our really good players have to play really well. That's kind of how it goes. And it is good to know that we have depth going into the season. And, you'll see different guys in the game, but it'll be a lot different than it did starting the season last year.
And then flip the other side of the ball. Harris obviously started last year, but now finally gets the reins at left tackle job. for you as the guy who recruited him, the guy who's seen him develop, how exciting is it just to see him finally be at that spot where everyone expects him to be so good, and then to also be able to go against somebody who's projected to be a first-round pick, and Isaiah? How exciting is that for you to be able to see him?
Yeah, I mean, Foskey's a tremendous player, very athletic, like you said, projected first rounder. So it's going to be a huge challenge for him and for DeJuan in this game. And we got to know exactly where he is at all times. But yeah, I thought that the key for Paris was that he was willing to go in at guard and get a whole year under his belt. And I think that for a lot of guys, they see themselves, well, I'm just a tackle, and if he had seen himself as just a tackle, then he would go into the season with zero experience really on the field. Maybe a few snaps here and there, but because he was willing to go into guard, he's more prepared to play this season at tackle because of that experience. So I think it goes to who he is as a person.
Third row right, Rob Aller, Columbus Dispatch.
Brian, Tim talked about this earlier. At the end of last year, CJ seemed like there wasn't a lot of room for improvement. You guys, there's always room for improvement. But we didn't think there was much more room. What do you want to see out of him? Where can he improve still?
Well, there's a lot of areas. I think that for the whole offense, we just have to start the season and get going. When you kind of go through the season we went through last year, finished with the Rose Bowl win, you go into the off season, it's a whole different group. We move some pieces around. Some guys move out, some other guys move in. It's just a different personality. And so as the leader of the offense, you have to do everything you can to get your team into the end zone, whatever that looks like. Last year we had our certain way we did it. The year before, this year is going to look a little different as well. And so certainly the run game is a huge part of that, and I think he understands that. It's not about getting the most points or the most yards. It's about winning games, and that's what's important.
And the other thing is, my 93-year-old mother again last night is complaining about why everyone's picking Ohio State number 1. They're going to get big heads. It's not good for them. How do you handle that with the team, and do you have a specific person that kind of is in charge of keeping guys from seeing that stuff?
Well, I think coming off of last year, there's no big heads. This team is hungry. This team has been hungry. It's been gritty, and we got to go win this first game, and they know that. There's no big heads on this team right now. We got a lot to prove.
Right behind him, Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Brian, any opener has unknowns on both sides. You don't have tape from this year, but when you have a game like this, as opposed to some of the openers in the past, how much does that change what you're doing to try and know as much as possible about this Notre Dame team?
Yeah, every year it's the same story. It's a challenge to figure out what changes and adaptations have been made based on the personnel from each side, and in college football, what that means. I think maybe in the NFL, when you're drafting, the system's a system, but when you have new coordinators move in and out, and when you have different players move in and out in graduation, different things, it changes. And so you try to do the best you can to project that, but then in game you have to have a good contingency plan that you can move quickly and adapt and think on your feet.
You talked about Paris and DeJuan, but the offensive line as a whole, we've talked about the depth a lot, but how do you feel about that starting group, and what challenge overall does Notre Dame present with their defensive front?
Well, they play multiple fronts, and they're good. They're strong. They're powerful. They're athletic. The linebackers play hard. They do a good job against the run. I feel good about where our offensive line is. I think that we've had a really good camp. I think Justin's done a great job with them. But now they've got to go put it on the field, and that's all that really matters. And I think that's just across the board. You go through so much training for just these few opportunities to play, and so now it's time to go to be competitive excellence, and that's what matters the most, is what we do on Saturday night. So I'm excited about what I see, but at the same time, we got to go put it on the field.
Second row left, Steve Hellwagon, 24/7 Sports.
Yeah, Coach, your offensive players have said routinely that the defense is much improved. They haven't got as many big plays, perhaps, during this preseason. Which area of the defense, stopping the run, the pass rush, maybe the secondary with pass defense, which one has maybe made the most improvement out of all those areas, I guess?
Yeah, I don't know. I think when you look at the front, I think that they are certainly creating a lot of disruption up front and getting after the quarterback and, creating problems up front in the run game. The linebackers are much more improved. They're seeing things and diagnosing things faster. But the secondary as well is playing at a pretty high level. So I think across the board, it's just an overall improvement. I think that the guys are playing with more confidence. I think it's probably the combination of guys on that side of the ball with more experience and then embracing a new scheme.
And just curious what the assignments will be for your assistant coaches up, down for this game.
Yeah, I think we've gone back and forth on that. I think on the offensive side, we'll pretty much stay the way we've been, and I think Jim's done it a couple different ways, and we're gonna kind of decide here towards the end of the week what he's gonna do.
Front row middle, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Right, even though you have an experienced team, you're playing at home. What's it like for a coach before the first game of the year? Because there's no preseason. You're playing a top opponent. Just kind of your mindset right now.
I think it's just to try to have a great day today, because again, we talk about it all the time. You can plan for the future, but there's nothing you can do about the game yet. All you can do is just have a great day today and focus on the fundamentals, focus on getting better, making sure that everything's clean today in practice. And so, Saturday's going to come and go. How prepared are we going to be when it gets here? And that's really just has to be the focus. I can't sit here and tell you that you sleep well at night, because you just don't know anytime you have a new team. But there is more experience with this group than last year, so at least you have, again, a reference point. But every year is new, and there's going to be a lot of excitement in this game, and we have to come in and play well.
Do you feel good about where you are as a team? I mean, obviously you don't know what's going to happen Saturday, but do you feel good about the preparation?
I think we've had an excellent preseason. Yeah, I think the attitudes have been excellent. I think the toughness has been excellent. I think their attention to detail, the edge that they've had. This team wants to be good, and they have an edge to them. They feel like they have something to prove, but that doesn't mean anything until you go play the game on Saturday night. So we'll keep working on that and trying to figure out a way to get 1-0.
One more question about Paris Johnson. How has he looked at left tackle? I mean, that is kind of his natural position. How good can he be? How good has he been so far?
He's done really well. He's really improved. Moving from tackle to guard and then guard back to tackle, there's a little bit of an adjustment, but no, he's been working well with Justin, and I think he's had his last couple weeks he's been excellent.
Go over here to the right, Adam King, WBNS 10 TV.
This is a playoff caliber matchup to start the season in the shoe at night. You talk about the 100th anniversary. Do you talk to your guys about what Saturday means for college football and how big it's going to be?
Like what I said yesterday about how the nation will be watching, and you get to be front and center, and everyone who's watching, and they wake up the next morning, they can be you, and I think that's important, and it's great for them to realize that. But we can't make it bigger than it is either. We got to make sure that we're focused on what really matters. But the guys know. I mean, this has been on the schedule for a while, and just as it gets closer, you start to feel it a little bit more. But we know this was coming, and we've been preparing all summer.
You've got the best view of the defense. Now that you've had a whole offseason, we're 4 days away, how ready is it and how different is it?
Yeah, I mean, still a couple days away, so we're going to keep preparing all the way till 7:29 when the foot hits the ball. But it's time to go play somebody now. I think as much as our guys are doing a great job of being focused, they want to go play a game and hit somebody else, and I think they're tired of practicing. We can't get tired of practicing. We got to keep working, but no, I mean, these guys have been working hard for this moment, and they've done a great job with the installation. They have a great job making adjustments and learning and growing, and now it's game planning Notre Dame. So, I think we're in a great place. We'll see you again Saturday night.
Right next door, Tony Herdman, Buckeye Huddle.
Ryan, I think along those same lines, this defense has been a work in progress for the last 8 months. Where's your excitement level, your emotional level to finally see that against the opponent?
Yeah, it's going to be great to see. Just a bunch of guys running around with great energy and great confidence, and that's what this thing's going to be. And that's the way they practiced. Just the whole group in general. If you come out and watch practice, you can see it. It's just there's an energy level to them, a confidence, guys buzzing around, playing fast, playing violent, creating chaos out there, and that's going to be fun to watch.
Way over to the right, Don Berry, WBNS 10 TV.
Coach, as you take the pulse of this club, how ready are they to play a game? And you mentioned the edge these guys have. Will angry team take the field on Saturday? And I don't know, what keeps you up late right now?
Yeah, well, one thing I tell them all the time is when you play in big games, a lot of guys, they just want to get me to the game, get me to the game, get me to the game. Well, it's only Monday, and today is Tuesday. We have a long way to go before we get to that game. So what happens is if it's just get me to the game, you lose focus on that time. We have to be ready to go at 7:30 on Saturday night. So, we're preparing, and we're going to continue to prepare to make sure we're ready right at that moment to play with the mental, physical, and emotional energy that we need. But yeah, I mean, this team certainly, wants to be great, and it's going to start September 3rd.
I mean, you've heard the things. I mean, these guys have talked about it. They heard things that people said about them a year ago and all that. Is there a fire with this team because of some of the comments that were made in the past?
Yeah, but I think when you're at Ohio State, you can't listen to that because they're the same ones that, said things that weren't very good. The same things that are saying that maybe one of the better teams in the country coming into this year. So, when you listen to other people's opinions, you respect them more than your own. So you just have to focus on what really matters and just, kind of distract all the noise and keep it out of the building.
Kind of with that said, though, there's always a big target on you guys, and more so than ever. How hard is it to block and to block all that out? I mean, you're hearing this is a national championship caliber team, this is that and that. I mean, do you guard against that with your kids?
Yeah. I mean, we don't talk about any of those type of things because that's not what the focus is. And the competitive stamina is what we've been talking about because we know that at Ohio State you have to bring it every single week. And in order to get to reach our goals of where we need to be, we have to bring it every day and every game. And so we start looking ahead and lose a day, then we put ourselves at risk. So focusing on the process, focusing on the day, and making sure that we have the stamina that we need to go win this game.
Got time for two more. Over here to the right, Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com.
Another question about the defense, maybe kind of looking back, at what point over these past 8 months did you kind of see the impact that Jim was having on the defense? Like it was tangible to you that the change that you wanted, the adjustment that you wanted was happening?
Yeah, I don't know if it was one day, but you could just see it over time building just the confidence of the guys. And they play with a lot of decisiveness. They play with a lot of confidence. And they run to the ball. And when you get that kind of pack mentality, that's when you're starting to build something special on defense. And I don't think it happened one day, but it certainly has happened over time.
And with when you brought him on and he's talking about wanting a safety-driven defense, was there something about Perry that you wanted specifically for that position, or was there something about Perry that you wanted on this staff, regardless of how he was going to fit the position?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I think that he, I didn't know Perry very well, but everyone who knew Perry spoke very, very highly of him and certainly saw his work when he was at UC, and then had an opportunity to spend some time with him during the interview process, and I could tell right away that he was special. He does a great job of communicating. He's very, very intelligent, sees things from a wide view, connects well with the players, so certainly somebody that we were very fortunate to have on our staff.
And final question, second row right, Doug Lesmerises, Cleveland.com.
Ryan, just a specific question on a player. Matthew Jones had a couple years here where he was in camp and fighting for a starting job and didn't quite get it. We know how important he was to you guys last year as that sixth offensive lineman, but here he is now as a starter. Just, what was his progression, and what do you think of a guy like that, sort of continuing the fight?
Right, that's it, the fight. Yeah, when I think about Matt, that's what I think about. And not to put his stuff out there, but he got in front of the team during a team meeting and kind of shared his experiences of what the brotherhood means to him, and it was really powerful because Matt is a man of few words, but he kept coming every single day, and part of this game is showing up every day. And there's a lot of people out there that maybe would have transferred, maybe would have gone another direction, maybe would have lost hope, but he didn't. He just keep putting one day in front of the other, and now he's got an opportunity to have a great season this year and be a starter at Ohio State. So I'm very proud of Matt and the journey that he's been on.
And a lot of people are very connected to their alma mater throughout their lives, right? When you're in this business, you're a college football player, it was very important to you, but now you're in college football. You're not a 9-to-5 Monday through Friday job. How do you stay connected to your alma mater? Do you pay attention? What are your feelings when you're in the business of college football? What is your relationship like with the place where you attended and you played college football?
Yeah, I mean it's a part of your life, and this profession is funny, in a different way. when I grew up, I used to watch the New England Patriots, and then I was coaching for the Philadelphia Eagles and went into Foxborough and played against Brady and Belichick, and I was like, I felt like I didn't know if I should cheer for the Patriots or try to beat them. And you know, it's just this world is a small world, and you know, you certainly, you know, being part of the University of New Hampshire for me was a big part of my life, and certainly it catapulted me into my career, and so that's been very important to me. But I think for everybody it is, and it's a part of their life, yeah.
And not a joke question. Would you like to see UNH come into the shoe and play you guys some year?
Oh, geez. I don't know. That's a good. I haven't never considered that, but yeah, that'd be fun.
Okay. Thank you, Ron.
All right, no problem. See you guys. Thanks.
Got back from Ireland. Want to compliment our players again on how well they handled that whole trip, and thank the fans again for unbelievable support over there. That pep rally was really something to see. Obviously, really disappointed we weren't able to give the people over there a victory. Some things we definitely need to clean up, and some other things I think we can really build on. But I've been really impressed with the way the kids answered the bell, even coming off a overseas flight. So these guys are in a good spot right now. Questions?
What do you want to see out of this week? I mean, when you look at that game last week, I mean, where are the biggest improvements that need to come forward this week?
I think a lot of places, watching the tape, we played hard. The effort was there. Came down to 4 or 5 plays, probably on both sides of the ball again, that we need to execute. Had a couple busts on defense and misfits that cost us some big plays and cost us a first down or two, and that led to points. Had a couple more chances on offense to score. We're going to be in a lot of games where that's the case, and I think just detail and consistency.
You mentioned maybe the need to be more creative offensively. Could you expand on that?
Yeah, I didn't even realize I said that after the game. I guess, kind of referring to the run game more than anything. Coach Whipp's really good. He knows his stuff. Thought he did a really good job calling the game. We've gotten better up front. There's no doubt about it. We're better at running back. There's no doubt about it. But in the Big Ten, it's hard to just turn around and hand it to a back and think you're going to be real consistent. So I think I was referring to, coming off the game, just maybe having a few more things in the run game that are schemed for the particular opponent.
Did you kind of get a chance to work with the coordinators after the game and debrief about creativity? And if so, how did that conversation go?
Yeah, I don't want to get into the creativity thing. That we did a lot of really creative things on offense, and for the first 2.5 quarters, I thought the offense, for having a lot of new pieces and new coaches, operated really well. But I did debrief with both sides, and there's a lot of frustration and disappointment, but also some things we can build on.
Scott, are you guys back on schedule after the crazy travel you had over the weekend?
We're kind of back now. It was tough, getting back as late. We kind of chose this, that we wanted to go right back into week 2. So we had meetings yesterday morning and a kind of a walk-through practice in the evening instead of practicing in the morning. Turned around and had a similar practice today. We had pads on for a while today to get a little rust knocked off, and then finished with no pads on. We're going to have a normal Wednesday, so starting tomorrow morning, we should be back on normal schedule.
How much did the lack of run game affect the last quarter and a half of the passing game, Casey? Or was there something that you'd like to see Casey improve on in that last quarter and a half?
No, it's 1 or 2 plays. Honestly, Sam, I can think of one drive we had the ball up 4 and on their 40, 1st and 10. And I think that was the one we ended up with an interception on. And so it's 1 or 2 plays where if we hit a play, it leads to points, and that's this league. In general, I thought, like I said, everything was great. We need to make sure that we execute a little better in those situations. And I know Whip watched the 4th quarter with the offense yesterday, and up until that point, I thought we played really well. I think we can keep coming together and being even better.
I know the tempo is really early in the game. Obviously, Northwestern scored well on that first drive. Later in the game, when you guys had some 3 and outs, what's the challenge with finding the right line as to when to go fast and when going fast can maybe tax your defense a little bit?
There's a line there, and I've learned that, and I think our staff has learned that in this league, and it kind of is game to game when you want to go fast and when you got the advantage and when you need to slow it down. So we're going to have to be good there. Our defense was on the field too much. Part of that was probably offense. Part of that was them needing to get off the field on a couple third downs. But again, to your original question, Whip does so many good things, and we do so many good things now with a lot of the concepts that he's had for a long time. I want all of us to put our heads together and find ways to create more first downs so we get more opportunities to do this thing.
What did you do with the tackling this week? Did you press that issue with them this week? Now it's like starting tomorrow.
Yeah, overall it wasn't bad. We had, I don't know, 4 or 5 or 6 glaring ones, open field ones. Give a lot of credit to their backs. I thought they did a really good job at the end of runs with one last cut. And overall, I believe in this group. I think they're going to be a really good tackling unit. Our long run, they missed a couple tackles. A couple of their runs, we missed a couple tackles. I see that getting better as the year goes on.
What's the pulse of the team right now, and how do you avoid letting a loss hang over for another?
This is the best locker room and culture we've had, the tightest team we've had. In the building, everybody's excited, disappointed but excited. We know we got to get it done this year as a staff, the team. But that doesn't matter. I want this for the kids, and we got a great bunch of kids that believe in themselves right now and feel like they have a lot to prove.
So does it do anything to dampen that enthusiasm?
No, I think it probably only strengthens resolve.
Is there anything you want to change about your game day role after your first time kind of doing it like this, or did you like how it went?
Yeah, we'll see. I definitely had more conversations with special teams and defense than I've ever had. But I'll find my rhythm there too.
When it comes to the wide receiver drops, was it all on them? Does Casey need to put it better, or just a case-by-case thing?
Again, you say all the drops. There was 2 or 3 that we really should have caught. Some other contested balls. A couple of those guys are playing some of their first college football, and definitely their first college football at Nebraska. But we got to be more efficient. So that's Jug's machine. That's getting extra catches. That's more timing with the quarterback. That'll get better too.
Do you expect to have Travis Vogelek this week? And when he's going, what kind of weapon was he for you on Saturday?
I thought he played a great first half. I wouldn't say it hurt us, but it definitely kind of changed a couple of things we were thinking about doing without him in there. He's a real security blanket for us. He's day-to-day. We have a couple other guys that are day-to-day, and nobody that we lost for an extended amount of time.
Scott, when you went unbalanced with the offensive line a bunch of times, especially that first half, what needs to improve for those to get more push and maybe to?
Well, defenses in this league are tough. If you line up and go head to head and just try to push, you don't see a lot of teams doing that anymore. And again, give them a lot of credit, but there needs to be answers, and we'll keep getting better with that. There's a lot of good things in some of those concepts that we do, and I think we can add to them.
Is some of that too on the running back has to work in unison too to go? Because a couple of those times I saw the running backs break open a little sooner.
It's some timing and some things like that. Absolutely. For the most part, I was really pleased with some of the runs we made at running back. When we get those guys on the second level, I think they're going to be really dangerous, and I think there's a few things we can do to help make sure that they're not getting touched at the line of scrimmage, but we get them on the second level, give them a few more chances.
How hard was it to leave on the cutting room floor basically a part of the game plan that worked really well last year against Northwestern and just not use it with the quarterback option and those things?
We used it a little bit. Again, simply said, Sam, if I was calling a game, I wouldn't want somebody else shoving a lot of things down my throat. You get a rhythm as a play caller. That's the approach I took. Whip's an elite play caller. I think that showed up in the first 2.5 quarters. You see what can be done with this offense. We did run some of it. If I was calling it, maybe we call a little more, but I also wouldn't have been able to call the things he did to score us the first 28 points. So it's going to have to continue to be a marriage of different things, and I think we'll continue to get better at that.
Was there a thought of keeping Logan on the field there for more plays than just the one that was successful?
Yeah, he had a package, and I think we probably would have done a little more of it in the fourth quarter, didn't dictate that.
Kind of following up on what Sam was asking with regard to the play calling, you might have done something different at a certain point. He got you the points when you needed them with some play calls. I mean, you mentioned cooperation after the game. I mean, is there tension between you and Mark at all?
No, not at all. He's really smart, really good at what he does. We have a lot of other coaches that are really smart, really good at what they do. We just need to find our rhythm of putting all the best stuff together. And I thought it was good on Saturday. It can be better.
Hey Scott, are you able in that role that you're in have conversations with your assistants during the game on personnel? Whether it's offense or defense on guys who are going in, substitution patterns, or is that still something you leave to the assistants?
I have more time to do that now. For the most part, we talk about that right before the game, what the plan is for who's going to play and who's going to get reps. And we stick to that plan unless something comes up in the game that would make us alter it.
Scott, do you have an update on Omar Manning timetable for his return? I'm not sure if he was.
Yeah, Omar was out there practicing full today, so feel good about him.
Coach, I was kind of impressed with Isaiah Garcia-Castaneda. Can you talk a little bit about him as kind of a player?
Isaiah is a great person first and foremost, and he's a competitor. It doesn't surprise me at all that he had that kind of game. He's a fighter and a really smart and pays attention to detail, and I think that showed up Saturday.
What made A.J. Allen, a guy who is a first-year freshman, is in the mix there?
Running back, asked the question about rotation. Running back's one of the places we have a lot of guys that deserve to play. There's a couple that I don't think played enough or very much at all. That's going to kind of be a week-to-week thing a little bit unless somebody really takes it and runs with it. And guys that practice well. Ramir Johnson's a really good football player that's done a lot for this program, and he kind of got caught between playing some receiver in practice and playing running back. We got to use him more. Gabe Irvin is ready to go and healthy, and I'd like to see us use him. Those guys can help us win football games.
What's it say about AJ when you put him in there at the 7, at your own 7?
I didn't hear you say.
What's it say about AJ Allen that you put him in there at your own 7-yard line?
Yeah, he's a pretty special kid. I think he's got a bright future. He's in the mix right now, and we trust all those guys.
How much did Bushini help you guys with everything, field position, all that?
Yeah, there's one bright spot you can really take out of it. And that's as well as I've seen the ball punted around here for a long time. Unfortunately, they had more chances to pin us than we had to pin them and gave us some longer fields. But I feel great about that unit going forward with him punting the ball.
What kind of read do you have on how much able to watch?
I tell you, I'm impressed with them. I know their record wasn't good last year. They lost a lot of close games. I don't know how anybody does that for sure. They played North Dakota State to 3. They were ahead of Utah State by quite a bit in the middle of the game. I think they're smart with what they do. There's a lot of scheme stuff on offense that challenges you. They bring a ton of heat and pressures from all over the place on defense, and you can never really count on them being anywhere. So it's a good challenge for us. I think it's going to make us focus on some things that we probably need to focus on to get that much better.
Scott, you mentioned last week that, or you just mentioned that you wanted to see more Ramir in the offense. Why wasn't he more part of that on Saturday?
We needed some help. We thought with depth outside and with our depth at running back, I want Ramir to be able to play both. And he took a bunch of reps outside, and he's gotten really good at that. But it's been a little bit of a learning curve, and I think he just kind of caught between playing outside and playing in the backfield. And but he's good enough. We need to find some roles for him and make sure he has some touches.
Scott, watching it back on film, what did you see from the defense about Northwestern to have that success running the football at defense?
Scheme. I think we probably needed to rotate a little more with a few guys. We had some guys that played 90 snaps and came out of the game looking fresh as a daisy. I know Q, you're going to talk to Q today, and he played 90 snaps between special teams and defense and looked as fast on the 96 plays he did on the first. some of the guys in the trenches, maybe there needs to be a little better rotation there to make sure we're a little fresher at the end of the game and we're not leaning too much on a couple guys. But mostly I give them credit. They hit us with a couple schemes in 4-minute drill that we hadn't seen before, and that we didn't practice and fit up right. And that led to a couple crease runs that extended a couple of those drives.
Scott, it's a home opener on Saturday. What are you telling your boys that what they can expect in terms of playing in front of the home fans?
Yeah, I'm excited. We got a lot of players that never played in Memorial Stadium. I know it's going to be a special experience for them. Again, I can't thank the fans that went to Ireland enough. This is a neat team. I know the fans are going to be there to support them. Don't give up on this team because this is a neat group of kids, and I know Husker Faith will be out to support them on Saturday.
Some questions for Coach?
Casey, okay, and all that coming out. I mean, that was the first game he played with this sort of a 3-year off, so he's okay.
Yeah, Casey's great. I tell you, I knew Casey was a good football player. He made some plays in that game that really impressed me. And that's another real positive thing. When you get a kid you haven't seen play live before, you don't really know what you got. We got a kid there that can win us a lot of football games. So he can get better. We can all get better. But he's going to give us a chance in every one.
Coach, offensive line was a bigger question coming into the season. How do you feel about them and their performance after week 1?
They did pretty well. I thought our pass protection was greatly improved. You know, we dropped back and threw it a lot, and Casey got hit a few times, but we had one sack on just a good schemed up blitz by them on a must-throw situation. Another one where Casey fell down. Other than that, they did a good job giving him time to get the ball out. Casey did a good job getting the ball out. You know, that unit's going to keep getting better as they play together too. That's really their first time together as a unit. I've been seeing the improvement and the work done by those guys. So I feel good about the direction that group's going.
Anything else for Coach?
Have a good one, guys.
Sure. Again, thanks for coming out and joining us. Happy game week. That's Dustin's notes for me. I know our guys are looking forward to competing against players other than themselves this weekend. I love this time of year because for me as a coach, as I've said, it's where we get to figure out and find out just what type of team we have going into this year and kind of how all the hard work that they've put in from when we returned back here from winter break till now, just to see how all the hard work we put in comes into fruition. Looking back, we had a really strong camp and we're able to stay healthy, which is one of the top things leaving out of camp for us because we've created some depth via recruiting as well as the development of some of the younger players in our program. And to be able to come out of camp as healthy as we were going in is a testament to our strength and conditioning staff, our training room, and even our sports science group that has really played a major role in helping us keep our guys healthy, as well as telling me, you know, how we need to practice to make sure our players are at peak performance or peak performance form. There's no doubt we have the talent, but now we have to go out and execute, and that to me is the important thing. Anytime you go into a week 1 opportunity like Buffalo, as I told our team, you don't have a lot of information on your opponent. And so it leads back to what we've talked about here with you guys before, that it's going to be about what we do and not necessarily about what they do. And I think that's important for us to keep that mindset, because in every opportunity that we're given, and we're taking them one at a time, I still believe for us to be the type of team that we want to be, it's going to be all about what we do. More than what the opponents do, and we'll continue to do that. You know, when you look at Buffalo in a totality, number one, their coach, I got a lot of respect for Maurice Lindquist. He's a guy that got hired the end of May a year ago and had 12 weeks to get his team prepared to play, and they finished 4-8, which I know for him was not their standard, but to see how he was able in a short period of time to put together a roster, especially with some of the attrition they had, you know, it's a testament that those guys bought in. He's doing a tremendous job. If you look at their roster now, and I know their 2 deep came out yesterday, he's used the transfer portal quite a bit to build his program in a short period of time. You know, I think they've got 7 starters on the offensive side of the ball that are transfer portal guys from major Power 5 institutions. And when you look at their age in school, they're graduates, they're seniors. So he's been able to recruit some experienced players that have come in, and to me, that when you play with experienced players that come from good programs, they got guys from Louisville, Arizona, Florida. These guys have been around big-time programs, and so I expect that they'll come in and we'll get their best. They got a couple local players. I know the Patterson kid that plays linebacker, whose brother also is over there with the Washington Commanders, has been a starter over there for a long time, and he plays big-time football. They got a running back from St. John's that, is playing well for them. And they've got a quarterback, obviously, that they've named the starter that is very familiar with us, having transferred in from Rutgers, though we do expect to see the other quarterback as well as we prepare. The things we've got to do going into week one, and when I talk about us taking care of the things we can control, it's on both sides of the ball. On defense, we have to limit the big plays and then create turnovers. And then on the offensive side of the ball, we have to manufacture or create big plays and then take great care of the football. And if we can do those two things in game one, that'll give us a great foundation to build upon as we move through our season. So our captains for this week, Ami Finau, Chad Ryland, and Spencer Anderson, which we expect those three to do a great job of representing us and leading us as we enter into the shell here on September 3rd. So with that, I'll open up for any questions.
Mike, in practice this month, what have you been really excited about seeing the guys on the practice field? What has really given you confidence, and how do you expect that to translate to this Saturday?
Probably the biggest thing is as always, one of the things I learned working under Coach Saban is that, if you can't hit the curveball, you're going to see the curveball. And so one of the things that we do well or have done well in the past is in the passing game on the offensive side of the ball. So what we've worked on tremendously over the offseason and during spring ball and into fall camp is being able to try to establish the run. That's going to be really, really important for us. If you want to win in the Big Ten, you have to be able to run the football. And we've got an experienced group. As I've said before, the most improved unit on our team is our offensive line. With Corey Dyches' development along with C.J. Dupree, we feel we've got two tight ends that will allow us to line up, balance people up, and I like our young running backs and the power that they run as well as the different skill sets they all bring. So I like the way we ran the ball during training camp, and then on the defensive side of the ball was really, really encouraged by how we tackled. One of the things when you talk about limiting big plays, the two areas you do that most in is tackling, limiting your missed tackles, and then also missed assignments, because that's where the big plays come into play. And so our defense has done a tremendous job of getting the ball on the ground throughout the scrimmage situations we've had, and I like the way we tackle in space. Those two things jump out for me coming out of training camp. What's up, man?
Roman Hemby was named starting running back for week one. What have you seen from him throughout training camp heading into week one?
He's Mr. Consistency. He's a guy that we can count on in the protection game. It's really important. All these guys are great with the ball in their hand. And you're going to see 3-4 running backs play for us throughout the year. And, obviously if one gets the hot hand, we'll continue to ride him as he continues to deliver and be productive. But the thing that jumps out most about Roman is his ability to play without the football, the passing game, the protection of our quarterback when we need to have that done, and just the consistency in which he's executed. That's not to say that a guy like Kobe McDonald, Antoine Littleton, they'll play and have great roles within it. And then the freshman Ramon Brown, as we continue to develop him, I can see him playing a major role in how things play out for us this season. But I expect all four to play and be productive. But Roman, going into the first start for us, is the guy that we have the most confidence in from a consistency in playing without the football.
Line, how much can
Well, again, I think being able to run the football is paramount to us because you want to have, when I talk about balance on offense, too many times people think balance is being able to run it 50% of the time and pass it, but it actually is being able to do both well. And, you know, if you look at how we played the last couple of games of the year, where we had success when we needed to, we had a big rushing attack against Rutgers, and then in the bowl game rushing for over 200 yards. And so as this O-line continues to develop, I want to continue to hang my hat on it. They're the veteran group. They're a group that's has been through a lot, but also has continued to get better and better with each year. And so to establish the run is something that we want to do going into the year and have it complement what we already know as a productive passing game.
Hey there, Coach. I know you expect a lot from Leah. What have you seen in this camp that impresses you most about this?
I just think it's his consistency. You know, and I've known Leah since 10th grade, before he moved from Hawaii to Birmingham. Typically a very emotional player. I mean, he wears his emotions on his sleeve, and you can see it with his body language. What I've seen out of him now is him mature into that quarterback that, as we continue to talk about finding neutral and getting to that even kill where big plays are routine and bad plays, those are over, moving on quicker. I see him maturing to the point where he's moving through the bad things that happen quicker than he has maybe in the past, which is going to be important. You know, that position he plays, he has the ball every single play. So there will be bad things, adversity happen. And for us, it's how quickly he's able to get past that. And that's for all of us as a team in general, how we handle adversity. And I've seen Leah take the next step from an emotional maturity standpoint to where he gets it. He's got the mind of a coach, and he plays like a player. So that's what I'm excited about.
Hey, Coach. Ruben Hippolyte's now an established starter. Where have you seen his growth from last year in camp?
Probably more. Most of Ruben's growth has been more how he has a positive effect on his teammates. Ruben typically is a very quiet guy that goes about his business, and he led by how he practiced and his effort and everything he did. He's a guy that from the day he walked on campus mid-year just jumped out because of the type of work ethic he has. Well, now I see him becoming a little more vocal, or a lot more vocal, where he's leading across the board, not just the defensive players, but our offensive players. So I'm starting to see him become more of a vocal leader that has more of a positive impact, not just on the defense, but our entire team.
How have you seen that specifically with the two newcomers at linebacker, Jay Sean and Van Darius?
You know, I think both those guys, obviously with Van Darius and his familiarity with our defensive system and scheme, a veteran presence there, and then, you know, with a guy like Jay Sean Barham, I mean, he has a lot of some of the Ruben characteristics we saw coming in. A quiet guy, picked up things easy. He has a body made ready, you know, one of those guys that walks in the door and looks like he should have been here already. And we're excited to kind of see how he plays, and that's what great about having an opening game is we get to see kind of what he is and what he can do to help our team.
Hey, Coach. Could you go into a little detail what CJ Bree has done now and to be listed as a starter for Saturday?
You know, CJ was our second team guy a year ago, played a lot of football, a lot more football than any other tight end in our program. You know, Corey Dyches has kind of been that a secret weapon type of guy because he's a tight end that has receiver skill set that creates matchup issues. But CJ, for us, in the run game, he's one of the few tight end bodies right now we have in our program that can hold up and what I call maintain that C area, the C gap area, where when you want to run power and counter, he has the size, the girth, the strength to be able to hold up against bigger DNs, which we face nowadays. I still see Corey having a major role. He continues to develop for us as a tight end, and you know we play a lot of 12 personnel grouping sets where you'll see those guys a lot on the field because of what they bring from the dimension of two tight ends. But with CJ, it's more the tenacity he plays with, but also his ability to help us in the run game, which has been what we've talked about improving upon.
Hey, Coach.
Sean,
how you
what's
doing?
up?
Good to see you. Dante Demas, having him back for week one, how would you describe how he has looked in camp heading into this week and the chemistry between Talia and Dante?
You know, he's, like I said, to have a healthy Dante Demas back is short of a miracle for us in terms of just getting him back this fast. And I'll knock on wood, we've been able to keep him healthy throughout training camp. He's picked up where he's left off. You know, the impact he has on our team goes way beyond just what he does on Saturday as a pass catcher for us, because he is kind of the heartbeat of our team. And I think he sets the tempo for our guys, especially how he's worked his butt off to get back to be available for game one. I think you'll continue to see him improve with each game as he comes back and kind of knocks off the rust. He took part in live scrimmages. He's been hit. He's been tackled. So now it's just a matter of him getting being comfortable going out there. And again, I expect him to be able to continue to do the things that Tay has done for us in the past.
Not necessarily about the game, but just with the university coming out with this NIL platform for student athletes and trying to take advantage of that. I'm curious, we're a year into this. Has all that moved the needle at all for you on recruiting? Do you have any sort of big picture thoughts about all things NIL a year into this? And the university's partnership with Under Armour helping that regard as well.
This is the first I'm hearing about the partnership with Under Armour. Something came out recently. Oh, I thought. Oh, got it. I thought you said something came out and about. Okay. No, I mean, the NIL's here to stay. I've said that. Yeah, it has had an effect. 2 players that we beat everybody in the country on in recruiting, we lost. Do a lot of because of what the NIL situation is, and I expect us, as all universities, continue to kind of figure it out, because there's still a lot of unknowns. We're working with our administration, working with our partners like Under Armour. We're trying to make sure we put together the best program that allows us to compete at a high level via recruiting. Even though NIL is not used in recruiting, but the ability to show our players, because of where we're located, because of the companies that are affiliated and support our program in the DC metro area, we should be a school that benefits from it. And we're trying to do everything we can to study it, understand it, to give our student athletes the best opportunity to maximize on their name, image, and likeness, but doing it in a manner that allows us to, as I told our team, NIL isn't just us giving you money. I'm a big believer in you should do something to earn it. And so, for us, I can see us being more community service based with how we do our NIL once it does kind of get launched, which I'm hoping is here in the near future, that we give back to this community that does so much for us as a program, as a way to earn NIL opportunities.
Coach, Deontay Banks listed as the starter as kick returner, obviously new to the kick return game. What kind of factors went into that decision?
The old kick return question.
What kind of threat do you see him posing back there?
Well, Dante was a big-time running back in high school, returned kicks in high school, a lot like Dante Demas, Stephon Diggs, DJ Moore, Javon Leak, a lot of our great players. For me, I look at that as a offensive opportunity. Dante is a guy that, again, has great speed, size. With kickoff return, the key to that deal is hitting it full speed, because that window closes quickly. Dante has excelled at it. We've been excited about it. You'll see him back there, and I think it gives us a threat as an offensive play. It becomes a weapon for us. So if you study the analytics of football, where your drive starts begin, typically incrementally get better opportunities for you to score the ball. So we try to put our best players back there on kickoff return. That gives us the best chance to have a great drive start.
Hey, Coach, how do you control the emotions this week with all of your players? I know it's week 1, it's a clean slate, you're at home, but how do you control the emotions with your guys?
That's for us. We talk about it all the time, that it's great to have emotions but not be emotional. And to me, sometimes, and we've been a team that has been penalized quite a bit from some of them emotional type penalties, and those are the ones that sit in your craw a little bit as a coach. And so for us, I want them to play with emotion. I don't want them to be emotional. And to me, how we practice, the things we do in practice are what we expect to see in the game. And so, we have referees at every practice. We make sure that when things happen in practice or in games that aren't becoming, or if it's too emotional, then we handle it within the family. But I expect our team, because of the maturity we have now and in terms of some of the veteran leadership, that they know what it takes and how to prepare to go play a game, especially an opener, that a lot of things can happen in an opener that maybe you didn't prepare for because you don't know, and we just got to be ready to adjust. And I expect a veteran team like ours to be able to do that.
so much about sustainability. Is your program at a point where you have that now from year to year? You sort of know what you're going to get from that group?
Chip, I would say yes. I think you never really know until the live games start, right? You never truly know, but you can have an idea. I mean, we talked in January, and I said, I really like this team. They're a really fun team. They're going to be a really fun team to coach, and here's exactly why. And I think you can get a feeling of what that's going to be like. When there's going to be, if you're going to have this, you're going to have to do more as a coach to lead your football team than the players doing it, and you also know when your players can handle it. But I would say yes. I mean, you understand it a little bit more in year 6, and you've got 10 years of history to kind of go back on and see what type of teams are. It doesn't mean that none of them are identical, and we can connect the dots back and forward all we want, but they're not the same. And every team has its own fingerprint and character and identity, and this will too. The 2022 team will as well. I just look forward to seeing what it is. You have an idea of what it is. You just want to see them go out there and do it.
Trainer back from season-ending injuries. What did you see out of them in training camp, and did they show you what you needed?
I saw a lot more even maturity than I have, and those are two of the more mature players we have on our team. When doing what you have to do becomes doing what you want to do, right? And you saw this maturity grow in their leadership styles, the commitment to their bodies, and really just going out there and playing and having fun on the field. I saw that, and I think that rubbed off on a lot of other people. And by no means a relaxed type atmosphere, but our guys love coming to practice. You've all been there. They love being there. We're spending a lot of time coaching the actual details of the game, the fundamentals details of the game, instead of just how. If we got to keep coaching the how, we're not going to be very good. The effort part, and we're not doing that as much. And you can expect that from those two of setting the tone very early of what practice is going to be like. I can't tell you how many times Mo's called the offense up or Tanner's called the offense up without me having to say, hey, I think you should call the offense up right here. It's a great learning moment for you. They do it on their own. And, when your best players are your hardest workers and your best leaders, you have a chance, right? And that's all we can do is put ourselves in best position. That's all we do all offseason is to improve your chances. It doesn't promise anything, but it does give you a better chance, and then you got to go take advantage of it. But those two guys, from the mastery of the offense to really leading, having fun together, and then just being able to know you're okay. You got to go out there and play football. I mean, it's a unique game. It's a violent game. And I think both of those have been able to, in their own minds, pass that test to know that they're going to be okay.
You had a historic defense a year ago. What kind of defense do you feel like you have this year?
It's different than it was last year. I think you knew at some positions exactly what you were going to get. And maybe some areas, maybe we weren't as experienced. We're definitely more experienced now. I think when you look at the front 7, we have a chance to be really good up front. A chance. But there's going to be 11 guys that have to play at a very, very high level for us to be able to maximize how good we can be on the defensive line and rotating those guys. If we can have the ability to rotate 10, 11 guys and not take any steps backwards, we can be really good. And I say if, because that's the caveat there. The linebacker position, we have a lot of guys who played football. But if the front can do its job, the linebackers can make a lot of plays. And then on the back end, we can do a lot of things maybe we couldn't do a year ago with the depth we have in the secondary. So, coached by Joe Rossi, you know what you're going to get. You know how hard they're going to play. But we can do some more things that maybe we couldn't do last year. But then we also have to limit some of the things we do because maybe we don't have the experience we had up front. And that will show in the first few games of what kind of team we're going to have, to Chip's question.
What do you know about New Mexico State prior to their first game coming up here this weekend?
It's interesting because they got almost a whole new roster, except for some of the guys that they had carry over, a lot of junior college players, a lot of transfers, some really talented athletes they brought in at all positions, really. I mean, they got really fast running backs who have legit like 10.6, 10.7, 100-meter times. But you kind of piece all of it together from where the coordinators were prior at multiple stops. We don't have a definitive answer until Saturday of what they could be like. Just because they do that on Saturday doesn't mean they're going to do what they do on Saturday on Thursday either. They could have a completely different game plan. So you have to be ready for a lot of things. Throughout training camp, we prepared for every front we're going to see throughout the season, including what New Mexico State could throw at us. Doesn't mean that we've just focused on that, but we've been very broad and cast a wide net in our training and training camp. So we'll find out on Saturday. But, we started New Mexico State basically today. Today's kind of like a bye week Sunday. It's an extra Tuesday practice. We did some walkthroughs with them the last few days of the basis of our offense, defense, special teams that we know is going to be in. Then after they play on Saturday, we can have a better idea and trim it and add to it and game plan all day Sunday. And then Sunday, Monday, we'll practice at night, evening at Huntington Bank Stadium to get our bodies acclimated to the 8 o'clock time kickoff.
Is it clear going into this game that your players will have the focus that you want them to have? You're a 38-point favorite. Last year you opened with Ohio State, big contrast that way. And I know you talk about managing expectations internally, not listening to the outside, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I want to know championship season. Those are my thoughts. I know it's cliche and boring, but internally, I promise you, we're breaking the boring. That's our mindset. You know, I mean, look at the Bowling Green game last year. I mean, this team's learned an awful lot. I mean, a lot of guys on this team have beaten Auburn and beaten Penn State and lost to Bowling Green. I mean, it's football. Any given Saturday, any given Thursday, anybody can win. And those mean nothing to us. You know, we have an opponent coming in. We have to play our absolute best football we possibly can play. And that's the challenge that our players have. And that's what we're getting them ready to do, is go play our best football that we can possibly play on Thursday night.
PJ, I don't know if it's standard protocol prior to a game, but do you plan on talking to Jerry Kill before that game against them?
Listen, I've been a head coach 10 years. I've never not shaken the hand of a head football coach. I think there's a tradition of, it goes 100 years ago, of coaches meeting at midfield. That has nothing to do with it. But I've been head coach 10 years, guys, and haven't not shaken one head coach's hand in my entire career. I might have had to go find a guy.
PJ, you don't often see a quarterback have 40 starts. How was that in training camp? I
say that, right? As he starts a new season.
In training camp, does that mean, I can imagine that's a huge luxury to have a quarterback that has that kind of experience.
It is. And Chip, the great thing about Tanner is he constantly wants to even get better, right? And he doesn't look at himself as I've started 40 starts, I have all the answers. He's hanging on every word Coach Shiraka says. He's rallying his teammates. He's leading his teammates. He's gotten better in a lot of different areas. You could tell he's got this, I wouldn't say comfort, but has this confidence in the passing game, confidence in the guys on the outside. You look at our tight ends being able to be more involved, and then our running backs. I mean, he should feel that confidence, right? Based on everybody earning that, because we don't deserve anything. You know, he doesn't deserve anything just because he has 40 starts. You're going to earn everything you get. A lot of times we feel because I've done X, I deserve that. None of us deserve anything. I don't deserve to be here. You got to go out and earn it every single day, or it's not going to be there anymore. And he's got that mindset of that earning it. And that's what I really respect about him most, is there's been a lot of people come in here that gave it their best shot to knock him off that, that top tier, and haven't been able to do it. We got some really talented quarterbacks behind him, though, and have a lot of confidence in those guys as well.
The reunion of yourself, Kirk, and Tanner, that dynamic, anything surprise you about that second time around?
It doesn't feel like a second time around. It really doesn't. I think it's almost a little bit of a luxury to know that, Kirk left to go to Penn State. He was gone another year at West Virginia, and you come back and still the same guy you coached is ready there for you. That's unique, and a lot of the guys on the outside are there, and guys that you were recruiting are here. It doesn't happen all the time, but I don't look at it as two. I look at it almost as like one morph, and it's been fun to watch the camaraderie he has with the offense and the confidence they have in what we're doing.
As you close camp, what are your thoughts on the young guys behind Tanner and how they've grown?
They've done tremendous. I think Cole Kramer had a phenomenal training camp. A phenomenal training camp. And you've seen him in the game a lot of different times, and we'll have some certain packages, I'm sure, as we keep going through the year, but he's grown exponentially. And then when you look at, Athan, you talk about we always talk about skill versus talent, right? And he's got both. But it's the intangible part he's just got to keep getting better at. And he knows that. We have open conversations about it. It's not that he's not good at it. He just needs more work at it and managing the game, understanding the nuances of the game, how to go win games. And he's a winner, and he's going to do that. He has grown tremendously in his understanding of the offense, mastery of the offense. And now he's doing everything he can to make everybody else around him better besides just throwing the football. And he'll take the coaching on the run as he goes and meets players that just made a play for him, where before he'd throw the ball and be like, I threw the ball. That's great. You can coach me all you want. That ball was like on the money. And, But now he's expanding his leadership into other people instead of just himself. I'm really proud of the progress he's making. He's going to be a really, really talented player.
Take one or two more for Coach.
What do you think will surprise us about your team this year?
I don't think anything should surprise you. I think all of you've seen it all. You cover so many different sports. We're in a massive media market. I don't think anything will surprise you. I just know this. I go back to the first year I was here. I said, when you turn the film on, you're going to love how we play. And this rings true for this football team. How we play, that's what we always want to be labeled as. I get the wins and losses, but this team plays incredibly hard, and they are what the blueprint is of how we should play from the beginning to the end. And I just want to see that on that field. So, again, it's more respect for all of you that I don't think anything will shock you. You guys have all seen unbelievable baseball and football and hockey and basketball. I mean, it's what you do for a living in this sports town. So you have the luxury of that.
What do you like about Dalen Wright's progress in camp?
He's maturing. He's getting better. I think Dalen holds himself to an incredibly high standard. And he's one of the hardest workers we have on the team. We have all those catapult, things, that the heart monitor stuff, and you look at him after a practice, and it's impressive. And he's a pleaser. He wants to make sure he does it right every single time. And I'd rather have that than the opposite, because you can really work with that. He's a really talented individual, and he's going to be a part of what we do with the wide receiving crew, and look forward to him making some plays for us.
Do you have a final one?
How excited are you about the mix of skill sets you have along your D-line that you can kind of match on a week-to-week basis?
Yeah, we're excited about it. I think we've had those conversations in the defensive room, depending on who we're playing. People are going to get more snaps than the others, depending on how many third downs we have. But when you look at, from the Big Ten, you got to be able to still play base and nickel and win in the Big Ten, put it that way, right? And we finally have a personnel, I think, to be able to do that, where we can still stay in nickel and still be in a base-type defense, with Flip Dixon being that Sam linebacker and Donald Willis being that Sam linebacker / nickel. Same thing with Flip. So we have the bodies to do that. When you're talking internally and you're talking the edges of the defensive line, same thing. There's guys that are a little bit stouter, and we put them in for more run-heavy teams, and maybe some guys more athletic on third down that can rush the passer, but also could use them on teams that don't run the ball as much. So we have the skill set to be able to plug it in where we need to, and you'd love everybody to do everything.
Minnesota, New Mexico State Thursday night right here on Big Ten Network. As for Tuesday night, big show coming up at 6 Eastern, 5 Central. Jake Butt joins me truly. We'll talk Ohio State, Notre Dame, Michigan quarterbacks, and the two conference matchups on this weekend schedule. We'll see you then.